Welcome everyone to the week 5 coaching call. It's awesome to have you here. As you can tell, I'm here with my good friend and fellow co-creator, Dan Ashburn.
Hey guys.
He's feeling a bit under the weather. He will tell you he has flu. His wife will tell you he has man flu. And various comments have flown around today, like suck it up, and a bunch of other stuff. But yeah, it's been a really, really crazy day. So this call could go any which way. But let's get started. So the first thing, which I always forget to do now that I actually have to control this, is I have to enable the comments. So the comments are enabled. So we're going to do a sound check, video check. So tell me whether you have a cat or a dog or something else as your pet. That just came to me in a flash because I couldn't think of anything else. And then we'll see if everyone can hear us. I'm expecting the mentors to make a comment, by the way, in case you're listening, guys. 1-0, come on. Oh, there we go. Cat and dog, that's greedy. That's Steve 34. Julia Cat, her name is Penny. That's the same name as Mike McClary's dog. Random fact. Nick, you've got none. Me either. I used to have a dog long time ago. Cat, I have both, neither. Dog, a boxer. That is a cool looking dog. Hello, that'll do. Okay, so it looks like, oh, Russian blue. They are beautiful cats, I have to admit. Shouldn't really say this because I'm going to take sides, but I'm not really a cat person, but Russian blues are beautiful cats. So we've got that out of the way. Just wanted to mention that if you've asked a question in the community for this call and we don't answer it, it just means that there's another question exactly the same. So we don't read out both. In case you think we're skipping you, we're not. And also if you've asked questions about if you're an ASM10 or older member and you're asking questions about that launch method, we can't answer them on this call because this is just about ASM and the launch method. And while I bring up the launch method tomorrow, almost got caught out by the date change. Friday, 9 a.m. Central, module 6 is opening. I just scared the living daylights out of Dan because he suddenly thought that the module was going live tomorrow and he's still finishing it off. And you're going to love it. It's totally different to anything we've ever done with ASM before when it comes to launches. And you know, the old method worked fine, but this just takes it to a completely different level. And while it is, to a certain extent, complicated, Dan does a really good job of making it step by step and making it really easy. I've seen similar stuff taught with ManyChat, and I just look at it going, huh? Like, I haven't got a clue what they're talking about. But Dan's going to walk you all through it. And it will help you launch your product to the top of the listings. I'm guaranteeing it, no pressure, Dan. So the only other thing I wanted to mention was, in fact, I'll mention it later. Dan, you wanted to talk about listing optimization?
Yeah, cool. So, hey guys, excuse my voice. I do have man flu and it's coming through thick and strong. So if you don't understand me at any point, just drop that in the comments. So this week, you've more than likely been looking at listing optimization, following Rich's training in module 5. Before we move forward and progress into module 6, which is where we get into the depths of launching. And as Rich says, I've really gone to town on delivering a step-by-step launch strategy that not only tells you what to do, but really helps you think for yourself in terms of understanding the data. But the point I want to make is none of that matters if you don't have a good listing in place with a focus on conversion, being your unit session percentage on that listing, and obviously a good product. So when it comes to creating that listing, as Rich will have taken you through, you really want to think about who the customer is and who's using that product and dial into sort of their key pain points, their motivations, why they're buying that product in the first place. If I said to you, what's someone buying when they buy a drill? Drop in the comments and let me know what you think the answer to that question is. What is someone buying when they're buying a drill? So a power drill that they might use within DIY. Drop in the comments and let me know what you think the answer is. When someone is buying a drill on Amazon, what do you think they're actually buying? I'm just going to refresh the page. Wait for those answers to come back in. Perfect. Stanley, you hit it nail on the head, so to speak. So they're not buying a drill, they're buying a hole in the wall. So you want to start thinking about what's the outcome that shopper on Amazon Yeah, exactly. A picture hung on the wall was another one. So what outcome is that shopper on Amazon looking for when they're searching for a product? Because that product is always the vehicle or a path to an end result. And you want to start thinking about what's that end result they're looking for when shopping on Amazon, and then use that in conjunction with benefits, supported by features, and pull out those pain points from competitors' listings to ensure that you're delivering a well-rounded listing that's benefit-led, backed by features, and talks about the outcome your product's going to deliver for that customer or for that shopper on Amazon. When thinking about product images, really focus in on that main product image to win the click and get more sessions to the listing. And then think about how you can use those secondary images to communicate those benefits that you've communicated in your bullet points in a very clean, clear, simple way that's going to increase conversion and, at the end of the day, generate more sales. When using the language on the listing, something I always recommend is making sure that we keep that language very simple. Think about it as if you're writing for sort of, I think it's a third grader in America. Keep the level of that language so very simple to ensure that anyone visiting that listing understands the point you're making, and keep it to 1 point per secondary image as well when communicating those benefits. But the point really here is put the work in with the listing, because it's going to set you up for success as we move forward into module 6. Because with that better conversion rates going to come better ACOS, which is known as advertising cost of sales in our advertising, better conversion rates on our listing, which is going to help Amazon with the relevancy, start driving that flywheel around, and ultimately increasing rank upon Amazon. When also thinking about the customer, understand the tone of voice and the language they're using as well, and make sure you're matching that. So as I said throughout module 4, and Rich has covered in module 5, understand that customer, understand the voice, the language they're using, the tone they're using. Spend some time in Facebook groups, use YouTube, use Instagram, read some of your best competitors' listings, and more importantly, read your competitors' reviews to understand the type of language and tone of voice that your customers are using. And then match that language and match that tone. Because when your potential customers and these shoppers on Amazon are sort of reading through your product listing and are considering, are you the right brand for them? Is this the right product? Is this product going to solve and deliver the outcome that they're looking for, and make the intent behind that search? One of the big sort of ticks in the box is matching the way they speak and the way they think, so they feel at home and believe that you are the brand for them. So really a short message today, just to say, focus on conversion while you're putting your listings together. Don't skip on product images, one of the most impactful areas of the listing, especially your main image for winning that click from the search results. Ensure that through your keyword research process, you've prioritized your keywords into the titles, you have benefit-led copy, and a great game for that is the which means that game. So often we'll say, this cup here has this feature, which means that. And then whatever the answer is to which means that is the benefit I would lead with. And then complete your market analysis. Don't skip on that. Look at your competitors' reviews, use YouTube, use Facebook groups, etc., and really dial into that customer and make sure all of that comes through in your listing in a precise, concise, benefit-led listing. So that's it for today. Just really a reminder to think about conversion, focus on that customer, and understand exactly who you're selling to, and make sure that comes through in your listing, which is going to bolster your conversion rate and set you up for success as we move forward into launching your product.
Cool. Absolutely awesome, as always. I love the way you explain that. And me and the mentors in the background, we're just trying to figure out if that matched my training or not. But
Yeah,
we've got one very, very funny comment, which I'm sure all the ladies in the house will relate to. So one of our mentors, who is not Steve, basically just said, my partner, I'm not going to say who it was, my partner would say he's buying a tool to add to his other tools, whether he needs them or not. Yep, that pretty much makes sense to me. So I've just got a couple of things I quickly want to cover, and then we'll get straight into answering your questions. So the first one, like, we've got people, obviously, you know, we've just almost completed module 5. We start module 6 on Friday, but you know, we've said this kind of every week. Everyone's at different levels. Everyone's in different places. Especially now that, you know, our previous ASM classes have now got access. They, just like you will get when we launch ASM12, you'll get a free update to the new training. You know, they're here too. But I do want to just touch on product selection again, because, yeah, I'm a broken record. It is the most time consuming. It is the most frustrating, but it is the most important. And something that you know, I probably didn't stress enough. I actually used the exact same analogy, but actually Justin Dyson reminded me of it the other day when we did the QA interview. If you haven't watched that, go and watch that replay. It's full of some really, really cool information. And they're just a really nice couple to listen to as well. But it's all about, like, don't, because I've seen this happening as well. I've seen a few people doing it. Don't get hung up on big revenue numbers. So when you're searching for your product and everything, like, don't rule out, oh, that's only got 15,000. Like, don't rule a product out because it's only got 15,000. That's a significant amount of revenue. And, you know, one of the slides, I can't remember which lesson it's in, but talks very much about the home run theory, which is what Justin alluded to too. And it's, you know, yes, it would be great to launch a product that's doing 200K a month and get up there and, you know, rank. But when it boils down to it, that's going to cost you more money. It's definitely going to, well, more than likely going to cost you more money for inventory. It's more than likely going to cost you more money for running advertising and marketing and all that kind of stuff, which is fine if you've got the capital for it. But if you ask, I guarantee if you ask any of the mentors, anyone who's selling on Amazon, would they rather have a $50,000 revenue a month product or 5 products doing 10,000? And it's that whole concept, because there's so many reasons why that's more beneficial. So don't, I mean, like, I'll cover them because I was just going to skip over it. But for instance, you know, if you had an issue with one of them, maybe, you know, it runs out of inventory. It happens, you know, like sometimes sales just go crazy and you run out of inventory. You run out of inventory with one product and you've got 5, the other 4 still keep going. They're still making you revenue. They're still like keeping the cash flow turning over. You know, while that other one might be sitting a week or maybe 2 weeks before it starts selling again with the new inventory. If you've only got one product and that happens, then, you know, it's not the end of the world, but it does mean you're sitting there with no cash flow coming through. So when you're looking for products, don't rule out the lower end revenues. Also bear in mind that if you're in the community and you're looking at what people are saying, they're all saying, oh yeah, you know, I found a 50K product, or like I'm looking at the 60K one or 80K. There's actually probably less people looking at that lower end. So, you know, again, it gives you, you know, there's more scope for you because less people are going to look for those kind of products, because in a way it's our own fault. And like, it's almost like a product of our success that, you know, and we do overdo it. I have to admit, we do tend to show people that are doing, you know, crazy numbers like 100K a month, 200K a month, the Dysons, 500K a month, and this kind of stuff. Whereas, you know, sometimes maybe we should focus on, you know, the people that don't want to build that huge business. Now, to be fair, when I'm saying that, when Justin and Channing got their business going, they never thought for a minute they were going to, you know, end up with a business that was doing 500K revenue a month. But, you know, you don't have to have a product that's making you a huge amount of revenue. Like, the whole point of this brand method is that find a product that's doing 10K. It's going to be easy to launch. It's going to be cheaper to launch. You launch that product, you get that up and running. And in fact, we're going to give you specific lessons. I think it's module 7, it might be module 8, where we talk about when to launch the next one. But you get that one up, you get it making sales, you get the cash flow coming in. And when you're ready and when you can afford that next product, because obviously you have to afford that inventory and the one you've got, then you go for it and you add another product. And that could be 10K too. It don't stress over the amount of money a product makes. The criteria is there to make sure, no matter which, as long as any product you find that fits all the criteria, the easiest way of putting it is the money is there. You know, don't rule it out. I'm trying to think of another example of people that started with lower products. I mean, I know the Dyson's product wasn't like a huge, you know, home run. And I'm sorry for anyone who's not from America, who expects this Englishman here not to bang on about baseball, but hit it for 6 or hit singles, yeah, doesn't sound as good. And for all Americans, that's cricket. But yeah, so like, just concentrate on getting a product. Don't stress over the revenue. In fact, when you're finding your products and when you're building that list of opportunities, don't even look at revenue. That's why in the training, we don't touch revenue until you've built that list and we start narrowing it down. Then by all means, look at it and say, well, I've got 2 products here. They're pretty much equal on reviews. They're pretty much equal on BSR. Everything's pretty much the same, except this one's got a much higher revenue. Then fine. Yes, that's when you would use the revenue. And that's when you would, take it and go for the higher revenue. But don't be driven by revenue. When you narrow down your list to 3 products, don't make them all, I'm picking all the ones that have the top revenue. Pick something else too. Because then when you go through the suppliers, you might be surprised that something with a lower revenue might have a much higher profit margin. It's, until you go through that supplier process, you don't know. So when it comes to product selection, just keep moving forward, take breaks. I'm actually, there's 3 or 4, maybe even more than that, product selection questions I'm going to get to, and some specifically tied into the whole holiday period and Black Friday, which I'm going to cover. But just keep moving forward. And the last thing before Dan starts answering the questions he's got is I just want to remind you all about the why competition. Yeah, we haven't forgotten. You might have. And so basically next week, I think it's next week on the call. And by the way, next week's call, we will confirm by Friday, but it might be on Wednesday again and not Thursday. But we're going to do the draw live. And hopefully we'll do it the same way as we used to do it, which basically means you can actually see us do it. So there's no, we're picking that one because we like that one. But just a reminder, go to the why thread, make sure it's the 2019-2020 thread. Add your why. And most importantly, because I've seen some of you have just put text for your why, to qualify for the prize, you must have your why image, and then you can describe what your why is with text if you want. But you must have that why image, because that's what's the most important thing, because you should have that why image next to your computer. So when you do get annoyed looking for products or for suppliers or launching a product or whatever it is, just look at your why and remember why you're doing this. And it will get you over a lot of humps. But Dan, do you want to take over now and start going through your questions?
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, so question 1 from Mael. There are many different types and styles of products that perform the same function as my products of choice. I've found a supplier in Alibaba who sent me photos of competitors' products, even has their logo on it. From experience, does this happen a lot? Any red flags should I be aware of? Okay, so I think there's 2 questions there. The fact that a supplier has sent you isn't necessarily a red flag. It's probably just a naive sort of action they've taken in sort of getting that sample to you. But it's definitely something that when building a relationship with the supplier, you definitely want to sort of you definitely want to mention to them that you don't want your products being sent out as samples. And you can sort of do that within the relationship. In terms of there being very many different styles and types of products that perform the same function or deliver the same outcome, that is normal in some categories. And it definitely makes that decision-making process a bit harder. But what I'd say to you is look at which style of that product has most demand. So I was involved, one of my first products was a dog nail clipper. And we were selling hundreds of these things. We were selling hundreds a day of these dog nail clippers. And the reason being is we came to market with a slightly different design. We came to market with a head that was angled versus a flat head. And the selling point around that is that when you clip the dog's nail, there's less risk of cutting, I think it's called the cuticle or something, inside of the nail and causing that nail to bleed because you've got a better angle on that nail. So whilst the category had various different styles that delivered the same outcome, each style had a different benefit to it. And ours was the sort of leading, the newest or the most innovative design. And for a good 18 months, 2 years, we sort of dominated that and did very well with that product. So really look for demand products and have a look on the reviews of each one of those different styles. So look at your competitors' reviews of each one of those different styles to understand the benefit of that style and see what aligns with sort of your view on that product, your brand, to understand whether there's one style or another you want to release, or whether you want to design or develop a new style to release within your sort of product tuning approach. So it's not necessarily a red flag. It just takes a deeper level of analysis to understand why that is and understand where the demand is and what the sort of trend is, so to speak, for that style. So I hope that helps. Zuram, there you go. When setting up business.
Hey, Dan, buddy, you're breaking up a little bit. I know your internet's a bit iffy. Do you want to turn your video off?
Yeah, what I'll do. Yeah, okay, cool. I'm going to turn the video off, and if we have issues, I'm going to, Rich, you take over for 2 minutes. I'm just going to move into a different room.
Cool.
Cool. So I'll turn the video off. Hopefully that's better. Okay, so when setting up Business Manager, as in Facebook Business Manager, does the address need to be a USA address, and can the preferred currency be in US dollars? Or not living in the US, visible to the audience. Same question goes with setting up a new ad account. Can the preferred currency be although not residing in the US? Okay, so I'll break that down. No, your address doesn't need to be a USA address. I'm pretty sure it can be any address as long as you've got a debit card that you can pay with or a credit card that you can pay with. Can the preferred currency be in US dollars, although you're not living in the US? Yes, it can. Will my name and address be visible to my audience? No, it won't. Same question goes for setting up the new ad account. Can the preferred currency be US dollars, although not? Stick to your local currency. So I'm over here in the UK. So generally within our advertising accounts, I will work in British pound sterling. If I'm working on a partner account or maybe with a client, then we'll go into the US. But just for sake of normalizing the values and the money, local is generally easier, but you can use a foreign currency. That's fine. Okay, next. So same persons. How often do we have to do the competition? Will there be another competition needed for the same product later? So there is no sort of correct answer to this. It really comes down to how engaged is your audience, how engaged is your subscriber list, and do you have a need to use that subscriber list, and do you have enough subscribers to meet your objective? So if you're launching a product, have you, based on the engagement, do you have enough subscribers to promote enough promotional codes, as you're going to learn in module 6, to achieve your desired launch target? If the answer is yes, then you can turn that, once you've announced that winner, maybe at the end of the month, you can turn that competition off, announce that winner, and then decide on whether you want to run that again. What we generally do is, when starting out at the beginning of a brand and a brand new product, we will do a heavy push on a competition to build our initial base of subscribers. And then once we've got that, we generally move into sort of a monthly competition cycle with a much lower budgets, just to continually add new subscribers to our list. We might do one every other month, and we'll just monitor the size of our subscriber list and the engagement to understand, do we need to add new subscribers to this list to ensure that we've always got the asset that we need to achieve our business objectives, which most of the time is going to be launch or increasing sales velocity to regain some rank, for instance. Rich, I just saw down in the Skype chat around the internet. Am I coming through good?
Yeah, it's better now. What I'll do is, if I catch it freezing again, I'll jump on and you can move and I'll start answering my questions.
Cool. All right, guys. So next question from Nick Etten. Is it okay to order 1,000 pieces on our initial order, or is that a risk that we have too many items with lower quality? So there is no link between the number of items you order and the quality of the product. Providing you follow our training, you test your samples from China, then there is no direct link between.
Yeah, Dan, you just broke up again. Do you want to try moving? The other thing as well is, if you turn Skype off on your computer.
Okay.
But in the meantime, I'll take over and start answering.
Yeah, go ahead, and I'll move into the next room.
Cool. Now I've got to find them. Okay, so probably the best username I've seen in ages, Billy Goat. What kind of profit margins should we be aiming for? Obviously, higher is better. And of course, I understand there is a lot of variation, but what is a reasonable range to be looking at? I'm not sure how far through the training you've been. I'm trying to think actually when I discussed it in full, but anyway, the absolute bottom you should be looking for is 20%. And it's actually in module 2 when I talk about calculating your true final cost of your product. That's an absolute minimum. We recommend you go higher. Now, what you do have to bear in mind, again, it's covered in the training, that once moving forward, your profit margin should always start to increase. So that's why you know, we are okay with 20%, but that is the absolute bottom. Generally speaking, most people start between 25 and 30% with their first product and their first inventory. And then slowly but surely it'll go up. Obviously, yes. I mean, if you can aim, if you've got a product that's doing 50%, then that's absolutely awesome. I think Anne, when we talked to Anne, was it last week or the week before? It was last week. You know, her profit margin, I think, is up around 40%, and that's after everything. And it just depends. You also, once you've launched your product and once you've ranked it so that it's like steady, there's lots of other things you can factor in, like to try and increase that profit margin. But to answer your question, the absolute bottom profit margin you should look for is 20%. But please do go and watch the Module 2 training again, even if it's just to watch that one lesson. These are the kind of questions I hate, when a member posts a question and says, Rich, you got it wrong. And he's completely right. Khalil Madani, in Module 5, Rich said the number of characters for the backend search term should be 250 or less, not counting the spaces. It counts the spaces. I won't read out the rest of the question, but yeah, Khalil, you're up. Basically, yes. I got it the wrong way around. So I tried to like save myself, and I asked a bunch of people, because I do know it includes the spaces. And they were all like trying to save me, saying, well, it used to be that way. But yeah, now it definitely includes the spaces. Dan, if you're listening, I'll do one more question and then you can come back in if that's okay. In fact, you can come back in right now because I need to ask the goddess of all wisdom a question.
Cool, I'm back. So guys, you may hear my kids in the background. I'm back in the house now. Okay, cool. So let's move on to that question. So the question was, is it okay to order 1,000 pieces on our initial order, or is that a risk that we will have too many items with lower quality? So as I said, Nick, there's no relationship between the more units I order and quality, providing you test your samples, you put your suppliers through their paces, and you implement quality inspections. In terms of, is it okay to order 1,000 pieces? Absolutely, providing you've done the product research, you've calculated the ideal number of inventory or the number of units in your initial order for launch using the ideal calculation within Module 3. And you have confidence in launching that product. So yes, if you have the budget, absolutely go ahead and order that 1,000 pieces, and providing you implement the quality inspections, there's no risk of tying that to quality. So next question from Nick, due to the Chinese New Year, when is the best time to place an order as a new customer? There is no real best time. You just obviously need to avoid that Chinese New Year. A couple of weeks before that Chinese New Year, typically factories are going to be sort of backlogged with orders as everyone's trying to get them in before Chinese New Year. And there is sometimes a bit of a knock-on effect for a couple of weeks after Chinese New Year, where they're sort of catching up on their workflow and catching up on their production line. So I wouldn't say there's a best time to place. Just when planning to place an order, just think with Chinese New Year in mind, and make sure you're not trying to place an order during Chinese New Year. And also sort of when calculating lead times, as we've talked about, factor that in. So if you are placing an order around Chinese New Year, factor in the fact that you're going to lose a couple of weeks in production time, which is going to affect the lead time in getting that product produced and shipped over to Amazon. Nick, would it be a bad idea to launch our first product with multiple variations before we actually see the product itself, see the actual product sell? Yes. So if you're in a position where this is your first product, and to be honest, if anyone launching a product, you're not going to launch a product with, by multiple, I assume you mean like many variations before actually seeing the product sell. What I would say is, if you've come across a product that does have variations, try and see if it's one of the categories that allows you to see the demand per variation, so the sales for each variation, and then release the most popular variation as a product. That might be color, it might be size, for instance, and release it as a product. Now, within the product selection training, for this very reason, we advise staying away from variations, especially for your first product, as it's very difficult to see which variation is actually generating the demand in sales. So to summarize on your question, Nick, yes, if you're new to Amazon, this is your first product, and even if you wasn't new to Amazon and this wasn't your first product, the fact you're asking me that question tells me, no, don't do that. Go and find a product that's not driven by variations. Nick, aside from samples and quality checks, what is the best way to check on suppliers to ensure they have a good track record of providing good quality items for their customers? So you can ask them for certifications and certificates that they're part of sort of trading bodies. So within China, there are various different bodies that factories can be a part of. Think of it like, you know, the ISO standards in industry, in engineering and industry. Factories have their own standard bodies that they can be a member of. And if they are a member of any of those sort of trading bodies or sort of regulatory bodies, then that is a very good sign. You can also ask them questions like, who else do you supply? And if they're supplying a Walmart or a Target or a major retailer, you know that retailer has put that supplier through their paces. And those retailers have very strict deadlines, very high quality standards, and are not just going to work with any factory in China. But if you combine that with samples and quality checks throughout your order, you won't have an issue. And if you are ASM11 Nick and use the ASM sourcing bonus to get prices, etc., then all of those factories are pre-vetted and pre-checked within that. Cool. Julian, what are the steps the product needs, not including the listing and branding, that we need from them for the moment we place the order to the moment it's shipped on Amazon? Yeah, so that's all in the training, Julian. I'm going to defer you back to module 2 and 3 for that to go through in detail, just in case I miss anything and then everyone takes this as gospel. But yes, you're going to need to get a sample of your products from placing that order, packaging design, product insert, making sure that you've got the FNSKU label on the packaging design. Make sure you state made in China. You want to make sure that before releasing that order from China, you have your quality inspections done. You speak to your freight forwarder to ship from China and import it into the US. And your freight forwarder can also do a quick inspection at their warehouse, but I would recommend having an inspection done in China. And then when the freight forwarder's received it, you set up the shipment within Amazon to send out UPS or one of the preferred shipping companies to go and collect that shipment from the freight forwarder and take it into Amazon. So Julian, all of that is covered within module 2 and 3, so go back and revisit that training. George, please elaborate on inventory sellout timing. What is the desirable time frame to sell the first order inventory out entirely and move on to the next order or to a new product? So there is no set amount of time. There isn't an ideal time because every single product on Amazon has a different sales velocity or level of sales. And the correct amount of time for a product is based on your target for that product. So if my target initially is say 10 units a day, and I order 500 units, and I get to 10 units a day in say 2 or 3 weeks, as we're going to cover in module 6, then as soon as I reach that 10 units a day, divide the remaining amount of stock by the remaining amount of days, and that will give you an ideal amount of time. So there isn't a correct answer to that question. It's more, how much inventory did you order? What's your target daily sales for that product? What's the market selling for that product? So if everyone else in the market is averaging 10, 15, 20 sales a day, then there's your target that you should be looking to achieve with your product. Next question. I've just placed my first inventory order for 500 units. Well done, congratulations, good job. It will be 13 crates and in total about 242 kilograms. I could always rent a U-Haul truck for a day and hire help loading and unloading, but that just seems like so much work when there's professional services to handle this. So here's what I'm thinking. Ship to the most economical US port for the freight forwarding from Shenzhen, China. So Shenzhen's obviously a place in China. Hire an inspection and freight forwarding company to get my product to Amazon. Is there any freight forwarders that also do the inspection? UPS, FedEx labeling and forwarding to Amazon. Am I missing something here? So I think you're overthinking it is the answer. You want to work with a freight forwarding company that can handle shipping that stock, that inventory from China into the US. And generally, if you work with a freight forwarding company that's familiar with Amazon, yes, they will be able to help you with labeling. And yes, they will be able to help you prepare it to then have it shipped into Amazon. We're in the start of module 6, we go through exactly how to set up that shipment into Amazon, because you have to do it from within Seller Central, and Amazon gives you the proper shipping labels that have to be applied to your cartons. But if you work with a freight forwarding company that's familiar with Amazon, they will take care of all of this for you. And that is my recommendation. Go and find a freight forwarding company that is familiar with Amazon. And I believe we have some in the resource vault. Okay, What happens if we have a small product import? I've seen on the wall there is some form of shipment suggested because it sometimes doesn't make sense to do the freight forwarder since it ends up being such a small shipment. What would be the recommendation for shipping a very small and light product that only has about 500 units? And when does it make sense to use the freight forwarder or not? So in the instance that you have a very small shipment that's light, you're naturally going to move more towards air freight than sea freight because it's faster, and for that sort of weight and volume, it's very cheap. You don't necessarily need to use a freight forwarder that. You can work directly with an air freight forwarding company. But I would actually go ahead and ask your factory if that's something they can arrange. Many of these suppliers and factories, and especially if you've used the ASM sourcing bonus, this is something we can arrange for you through our agent network. We'll have relationships in place that can make that happen. So in that instance, I'd move more towards air freight and then look around, use like freightos.com to get a shipping quote for air freight on that product and just go with the one that seems most reasonable and right for that weight class. My first product was not that lucky in Amazon US. I had a complicated issue of a glitch in Amazon sponsored ads, not fixed still, which caused me so much money on loss in BSR as well. I figured out a workaround with targeting ASINs and need help with the help of a couple of deals. I will run out of inventory soon. My product is rated 4.6 out of 5 in 15 reviews with 380 units sold. And only got 3 returns. Profit is value. My question is, should I order a second inventory and try a new market in addition to US, maybe Canada or UK, or try a new product completely and start over the journey? Okay, so what you're now talking about is you've had a bit of a troubled launch with a product for whatever reason. It sounds like you had some issues with your strategy in PPC, and you're deciding, do you place that second order and go out launching that product again? To make that decision, you need to do the market analysis to understand, is the product still a viable product, providing you can achieve rank and hit target price? Does it have the correct profit margin in place? And do you believe with the product's quality, you can compete for reviews and within the listing for conversion? So the fact you've got 4.6 out of 5, you've got 15 reviews, that's good. You've got a good hold of reviews there. If the product's still viable and it's still profit, it still looks like a good opportunity. You run it through the product research criteria and it still comes out as a good product, then I would say you've already done the hard work in writing the listing, producing the images, doing all the product tuning, achieving your first 15 reviews, which means you're well on your way to achieving that sort of first target. I always talk around sort of 20 reviews. I don't see any reason why you wouldn't restock that and relaunch it essentially to achieve rank and sort of go in the direction you originally had set in mind for that product. It does mean you are going to have to do another launch for the product. It does mean that you will need to consider reducing the price to be more attractive on the page. You're probably going to have to spend a bit more on PPC, but you are going to be spending on PPC with 15 reviews in place, which is going to help a lot. And then if you follow Module 6 training, using your subscriber list and some promotional codes, we can definitely regain rank on that product. So providing it ticks all the boxes, I wouldn't give up right now because you've spent all that time and money getting the product, the listing, and the reviews in place. All you need to do is execute and ensure that you're targeting the correct keywords and then complete another product launch campaign. So I can't tell you yes or no because I need to look at the products on the market. But based on everything you've said there, providing it ticks the boxes, I would say stick to the US or stick to the market and continue to push through that product. I would advise caution in splitting your focus, especially if it's just you working on this product, because it's going to take 90% of effort to get to that last 10% of success. And if you spread that across 2 products, not only are you spreading your resource in terms of sort of finances thin, you're spreading your time thin and your ability to focus on what needs to be done. And ultimately, it could affect the success of both of them. So I wouldn't advise trying to launch 2 at the same time. Did you or anyone try selling in globally in Amazon North America, i.e. US, Canada, Mexico? I always receive active listing availability in 3 locations. My list is only active in the US where my inventory is. I've contacted support and they said that between Canada and the US, it's possible to share the available inventory, but not in Mexico. Looking for your experience on that, and did you face issues with taxes? Okay, so first thing you need to do before going into a market is complete market analysis in that specific market. Just because a product sells well in the US doesn't necessarily mean it's going to sell well in Canada or Mexico or anywhere in Europe for that. For that product. For instance, we had a product that was not doing very well in the UK, 10, 20 units a day. We took it into Italy and it was doing 100 units a day. So there's different demands for different products in each market. In terms of selling in those markets, Canada and Mexico are obviously a lot smaller than the US in terms of their marketplace size and demand. So there is going to be a lower volume of sales opportunity there. So unless it warrants the effort of going into those markets, unless there is actually demand for the product you're selling, it could just be a waste of time, and again, split that focus down. In terms of using the same stock across US and Canada, yes, that's something you can do. And it's something you might test. You could just literally take your US listings, set it up over in Canada, turn on PPC in Canada, which is probably all it needs to rank over there, and see what sales come through, and then use and fulfill that stock over from the US. In terms of tax, I'm not a tax specialist. I do pay people to take care of that for me. So I'll defer that question to the community in terms of sort of US and Canadian tax treaties, because it'll depend on where you're living, what your tax situation is, etc. Someone in the community brought up changes coming to Facebook Messenger rules prohibiting soliciting reviews. How will this affect many chat strategies? So you are absolutely correct. Facebook Messenger is definitely tightening up the rules in the way in which we're allowed to broadcast and message people. I haven't seen anything specific around reviews. Yes, there was a news article raising awareness of how we're generating reviews via follow-up, but there is nothing against following up and asking for a review. Now, in terms of Facebook Messenger and ManyChat, tightening the rules on how we communicate with our subscribers, there are big changes coming. Some have already happened, and in January there's some bigger changes coming, and don't worry, we're ahead of that, and I'll be updating the training in accordance with that. In module 6 I go through a bit of exactly what they are and how to overcome them with paid messaging, or sponsored messaging as it's known. But essentially they're just limiting the types of messages you can send within a certain time frame. So they're saying you can only send a promotional message with promotional content within the last 24 hours of the last engagement. So if my subscriber engaged with one of my flows or responded to me, I have 24 hours to message them with a promotional piece of content. If I don't engage them in that, if I send that promotional piece of content and it doesn't engage them, then I can no longer send promotional engagement. However, I do have one more opportunity, which is called a follow-up message, where I can send anything to try and engage that subscriber. And if they engage, it then resets the clock. In January, they are removing that follow-up sequence, that follow-up message. However, through the new use of sponsored messaging, which is where you pay Facebook to put a message in the Facebook inbox, kind of like sponsored LinkedIn messages, if you've ever had any sort of familiarity with that, we can still get the messages to our subscribers. So don't worry about it too much. Just focus on the training, get it implemented for now, and I will be updating training. And I've thought, and in module 6, I definitely think with that when delivering the training. If you already have a brand name and some products under this brand, but find products that are not so compatible with your brand but still viable, how would you then choose to display the name on the listing? Just a name, or any other suggestions here? So my personal view when it comes to, if you've already got a brand and products selling like it sounds you have, my personal view on this is focus on the brand, focus on the customer, and continue to develop out products under that brand as a range that will serve the existing customer base. Depending on what your sort of goal is with your brand, maybe it's moved towards exit in a couple of years, maybe you want to sell that brand in a couple of years. Investors are looking and buyers are looking for a brand that is focused on an audience with a very specific customer and has a range of products that can serve that customer, because that increases the likelihood of upsell, cross-sells, and lifetime value. If you've just got an Amazon account full of random products, yes, you're generating cash, but there's not really any residual value in that within the business if you ever wanted to exit. Again, depending on the size of your team as well, you start splitting your focus across multiple brands. That takes a lot of work and takes more resource, not only in financial resource, because you've got to set up all that brand assets, you're running double marketing campaigns, double Facebook ad campaigns, etc. But it's a big thing mentally with focus, and you never quite get to that depth of understanding of that customer. So unless these products are like so good that they'd just be stupid to pass up on, my advice would actually be look for products under the existing brand. Now, if you are committed to these products and you do want to push ahead with them because they're really good opportunities and it's a direction you want to go in, then you can just change the seller name on your account to something generic and then have multiple brands within that account. Now, without getting into the complexities of it, if you did want to sell, ideally, you would set that brand up as a new business, new LLC, and actually set up a different Seller Central account with permission from Amazon. Never do it without permission. But that's getting to more advanced sort of brand strategy. So if you're just at this point of thinking, I want some more products, I'd focus in on the existing brand you have. Okay, next one, Chataram. Module 4 on designing the competition. Is it necessary to include the first product that we're going to sell on Amazon for the winning prize? What is the price range for the competition? So no, it's not necessary. You may even keep it out of the prize and just make sure the prize is very closely related. That's really the key to success. Make sure it's very closely related to the outcome of your product, because then when you come to deliver that prize later down the line, when you come to offer your products later down the line for a promotional code or promotional discounts, they haven't already seen it and it might spark more inspiration. So no, you definitely don't need to include it within the competition, but you absolutely can, so that you're raising the awareness of that product before you've even launched it. And in terms of the range for the competition, there is no set range. As I said in the training, just make sure that it's closely related and that it's high perceived value. It doesn't always mean monetary value, but I would say it needs to be at least 4 times the price of your product. So if your product's selling for $25, you want to be looking around that $100 point. To make it worthwhile, it can't be a price point that someone could just go onto Amazon and order themselves. It needs to be something that is in that sort of disposable income bracket that someone might sort of save up for, or think, oh, I'll ask for that for Christmas. Something that's desirable but not readily accessible, or something people wouldn't necessarily spend money on, but definitely would want to have and would enter a competition for. So start thinking with these sort of desires and tap into that. Also think with status as well. Like, is it something that can improve their status amongst their friends, amongst their family, etc.? Status is a very powerful thing. Okay, next one. What is the ASM sourcing program? Cannot source the product or match the supplier from Alibaba. I researched earlier. Are we committed to pay the 5% fee? When is the 5% fee due? Okay, so we're not going to, so the ASM sourcing bonus won't necessarily match in terms of match, I thought you meant match the supply, you mean the price. So you only are committed to the fee when you place the order. So you can go through the sourcing process and you can decide not to place the order, but when you place the order, the 5% will be included within that order, within the monetary value of that order. So you're not committed until you actually place the order. Upon placing the order, yes, you are committed. Is it absolutely necessary to choose a brand name related to your niche? I want to sell in multiple markets after my 5th or 6th launch. Don't quite understand how that will work. So Nick, go deep, not wide. Going deep in on a customer and an audience, understand exactly who you're selling to, is going to show up in your the quality of your product reviews, your conversion rates on your listing, and to be honest, it all comes back to conversion. If you're talking to someone, not everyone, if you're speaking to a very specific audience, your conversion rates are going to be higher than the average products on Amazon that are trying to sell their products to everyone. That conversion rate is going to produce better ACOS, which is going to produce better visibility in the ad auction, which is going to generate more sessions on your listing, which is going to result in more sales results in increased ranking, and so the flywheel goes round, and you're going to learn all this in module 6. So my advice there would be focus. Stop thinking about 6, 7 products from now in terms of, I just want to sell random products on Amazon. Pick an audience, think about a brand, think about who you're selling to, develop out a range of products. You can definitely find 6 or 7 products under the same brand. I mean, I know brands that have got 10, 15, 30, 50 products under the same brand. I was speaking to someone yesterday that's got 200 products under the same brand. You're never going to find an issue in, providing you go after the right audience, in getting deep with that audience, but still being able to release multiple products. If you go down the route of just selling any old products on Amazon under a generic brand name, you're going to find it more difficult than people that are focused on that customer, because you can't compete on conversion rate. You don't have the ability to cross-sell those customers. When it comes to launching the products, you haven't necessarily got a focused subscriber list within ManyChat, because you've just gone after all these random markets. And yes, okay, there might be some crossover of those markets, and that is definitely a more advanced strategy in business. But when starting out, my mum, for instance, if I'm selling something for my mum, might be like a food lunchbox or something for work, and then I randomly go into a DIY market and start trying to sell a screwdriver, I'm not going to find it very easy to market that screwdriver to my mum, who I originally sold a lunchbox that keeps her organized at work, for instance. So there's so many benefits to focusing on an audience and sticking to one brand. You can go down the route of sort of a generic name and just releasing products, but in my view, it's quite a short-lived objective. Final question: how do you become Amazon's choice product? Is it primarily reviews? Love that question. We actually got in the launch that we've done for module 6, we actually got to Amazon's choice for quite a big keyword. So Amazon's choice is influenced by a number of different things. One, and there's loads of, there's nothing out, Amazon hasn't like stated exactly what it is, but there's a number of theories out there, and we definitely know what influences it. So add to carts, so your product being added to the basket influences Amazon's choice. Consistent sales, a lot about the Amazon's choice badge is consistency of sales. Low returns, the return rate definitely influences Amazon's choice. Being in stock, not continually running out of stock, that influenced Amazon's choice. We ran out of stock recently and we lost a few Amazon's choice badges as a result. But generally, it's going to be velocity of sale around a keyword whilst maintaining consistent sales, the conversion rate on your listing and the conversion rate to cart, and all of those combined in that during the launch period will get you Amazon's choice. So we'll cover a little bit on that in module 6, and I'll definitely go into more detail on that later in module 7, into more advanced stuff. Cool.
Yeah, awesome job. Like, I can hear your voice, man. Like, congratulations for getting through there. That was an awesome job. I just have a much easier answer to that last question, like getting Amazon's choice badge. Use the ASM launch.
Yeah. Yeah, it does work.
Cool. All right, thanks, Dan. I've now decided to lose my voice. Okay, so the question I had to ask, just to check on one thing on this question. So it's from Manthana Chatu. That's my guess. In picking the primary product, one of the products has length variations, like, for example, the primary product 4 rows with 8 by 25, competing product 4 rows 11 by 25 each, and 4 rows 8 by 25 each. And competing products variations are 2 rows, 4 rows, and 8 rows 8 by 25 each, 8 by 25 inches. The fact I struggled to actually read that out should answer your question. Those are like, they don't make any sense to me to be like for like. You've got to be so careful when it comes to variations. But one really important thing about this is, I'm sure you've noticed because you've been through the training, is all of these are oversized. They're all oversized products. The 25 inches on one side does it. So even if you do find 3 similar products, because I mean, it's also difficult for me to tell when I don't know what it is. Rolls of what? It has got my mind going all over the place, I have to admit. But they do need to be the same. At the end of the day, you've got one product which is, the variations are 2 different sizes, and then the other one is 3 different amounts. It's just, you can't compare those like for like. I hope that answers your question. Mark M18. I'd like to know, how do we go ahead with the product selection? So this came up quite a lot. So I'm going to answer this one question, and then hopefully that'll answer everyone the same question. I'd like to know, how do we go ahead with the product selection now in holiday season when all BSRs are totally different from all year round? Not quite true, but I'll carry on. I know that you can see the BSR history, but that doesn't really help. Yes, it does, since we get completely different results in the product search to begin with. So for the most products, we wouldn't even think to take a look at the BSR history. So this comes up every year around this time, and it's a 100% valid question. It's also an awesome question because it means you're actually noticing things that are happening and you're paying attention, which is great. Basically, what we'd say to you right now is, if any of you are watching this, if you have got to the point where you've narrowed it down to your first 3, and you do, as we advise, you go and check, and all of a sudden you're seeing all different BSRs and start to panic, don't. Go ahead and check the BSR history. In that situation, it works. See if it's suddenly, if it's been steady and then all of a sudden fluctuates just before Black Friday. Because Black Friday has 2 impacts. First of all, a slowdown before Black Friday, and then an increase, obviously a massive increase in sales, but a massive increase in sales predominantly for products that are gifts. And you can stretch that, like Dan was talking about the power drill. That's a gift, believe it or not. Like people do buy them. In fact, I'm definitely considering buying one for Tracy. Oops, I said who it was. But generally speaking, because I mean, it just makes sense when you think about it, especially in America, everyone waits for Black Friday to buy all their Christmas shopping. Well, not all of it, but a lot of it. And it's super simple. You go onto Amazon, you order it all, and boom, you've done it all. It all gets shipped to you, and then you just got to hide it. But the other thing is obviously, like, because it's so centric on gifts, then if you're in any category for that matter, if your product or the product you're looking at isn't a gift, I don't know, like I go on a diet supplement, like who would give anyone a diet supplement as a gift, right? So then maybe the gifts that are below that are in the same category, in other words, they've got a higher BSR, because they're making loads of sales, they then overtake that dietary supplement, and that dietary supplement's BSR becomes higher. And that's what Mark's talking about. So if you're in a situation now where you haven't narrowed it down, if you haven't already built your opportunity list, then it's the only time we'll ever say this to you. And that is, you might want to take a break. Wait for at least sort of 4 days, 5 days after Black Friday's over, because then there's also, I was going to say Manic Mondays. That's a group, isn't it? It's sort of Cyber Monday. So basically, I'm telling you, take a vacation, especially if in America, it is a vacation anyway, right? Sorry, it's a holiday. So, take some time off and wait. It sucks, I know, but you're all desperate to move forward, but it does affect things. Now you can go ahead. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to, you're not going to find products, but you just may want to make sure when you're looking at the BSRs. I mean, that's the other thing as well. What you've got to bear in mind is our BSR range from 100 up to, in some cases, 20,000. The chances of a product like not making any sales or making a lot of sales on Black Friday that would take it beyond the 100, if it was at sort of, I don't know, 10,000, is unlikely. So it's only going to affect products that predominantly are at either end. So you can carry on, but the other alternative is simply to wait. And I know you probably hate hearing that, but take a break, enjoy yourself, have some fun with the family. But yeah, take a break. Thientam 12921. My primary product is oversized, 23.5 by 15 by 14. You're not kidding. Can I move on with this product? So there's two issues you need to think about with oversized. The first is shipping costs. You need to do a lot of analysis, don't just check like one freight forwarder or one shipping quote or whatever. You need to check multiple. The other thing is, as you'll find out in module 6, there are limits when you first launch, when you first open an account. So you are only allowed to send less than you would if you're already up and selling. And that limit goes very quickly, and it's enough, don't get me wrong. But it will reduce the amount, especially with oversized, because you can have less oversized products than you can normal products. So at the end of the day, the reason we recommend to stay away from oversized is cost, because it puts your cost up. It puts your storage cost up. It puts your shipping cost up. So when you add all those things together, it makes it more difficult. But if you do, I'm going to say this again, I'm going to mess it up again. You do diligence, whatever, due diligence. Well, that was close enough. On this product, and make sure you go through it and you know exactly what it's going to cost you, then okay. But generally speaking, for a first product, that product's huge. It's like it's oversized on every single measurement, I think, off the top of my head. Anyway, next question. Manthan Achatu again. Excuse me. What if the second competing product has two variations, natural color, which is also the primary, brown, and walnut? So that's 3 colors, I think. Anyway, primary and first competing has no variations, natural color. Go or no go? If it matches all the criteria, then it's less of an issue. What we want you to stay away from is a general product type that lends itself to variations. So in other words, your primary and all the competing products, for the most part, have multiple variations. If it's a simple case of one of the competing products or two of the competing products, or like in the top 10 or whatever, have variations, then it's less of an issue, because you, from what you're saying, the natural color is the same for all three, then the odds are that's the best selling, and that the second competing product is actually trying another couple of colors. But if that's the situation, it's no problem. It's when, as I said, I think I used the what is it called? The 360 diving face mask thing. It's like completely covers your face. If you go and look at that, like every single listing has 10, 15 different variations. It's things like that you need to stay away from. Ramar, my question is about finding my primary product. The product I chose has so many variations, but the variations don't affect the functionality, just different styles. Okay, just going to quickly read through this rather than read it all out loud. So it's the same thing. It doesn't matter if the variations are a different use or anything. That's not the issue. The issue with having multiple variations is that you can't tell, in most cases, which one is selling more than the other. So for instance, you're talking about styles. Maybe style, let's say color, it's easier. Say all the variations have 10 colors. And you're in a category where it doesn't show, splits out the BSRs. You have no idea which one of those is selling more. So you would literally have to guess. And guess what? You could guess wrong. And that color could be the least, like the worst selling color. You know, I'm trying to think of some good examples here. Like I know a lot of people who have launched a product and then, oh, Anne Ferris. So she launched a product and then she created variations for herself. It wasn't because everyone else was doing it, and it worked really well for her. But even then, like sometimes I remember she got some samples through while I was staying nearby in Costa Rica, and she came running over. She goes, "Oh, look at these samples. They're awesome. And these different colors." And she goes, "This one's going to crush it." Guess what? That one didn't crush it. That was her worst selling product, and she doesn't sell it anymore. So you have to know which of the variations is making the most sales, or you're guessing, and we don't employ guesswork because guesswork will kill you every time. Well, nearly every time. Max Miles Chef, when is the recommended deadline for ordering my first product? There isn't one. Oh, you go on to say, not to delay this process because of the Chinese New Year. I know that it starts on January 25th. So, okay, so January 25th, so from 2 to 3 weeks after that, in fact, I think it's a little bit later than that, but anyway, there's a period of 3 weeks, it's called Chinese New Year, and sometimes it extends to 4, it depends how lazy the factories are, where they literally shut down. So basically, I'll get the dates for you and I'll post them in the community so everyone can see them. So in an ideal world, you want to place your order well before that. However, having said that, if you get close to that time and you place that order, and they start to do it, at least they've started to do it. At the end of the day, when it comes to placing an order for inventory, never, ever delay it. The only time you delay it is if you haven't got your Seller Central account set up. But at the end of the day, you know, when you're ready to order it. Because if Chinese New Year is going to affect it, the supplier will tell you, oh, by the way, there's going to be a 3-week delay on getting your product. But you've placed your order, so you know it's coming. They give you the date it's coming, and you've got that date. Do not delay placing your inventory order because you think it might be better to wait till after the Chinese New Year. Because guess what? They do it in order. So if you've already placed an order, so if you place an order the day before Chinese New Year and they reply to you, you're ahead of someone who waits the 3 weeks and orders after Chinese New Year. So don't delay. Maximal Chef again. When is the oh no, that's the same question. Duh. Zuramai. The supplier's product has the same material, concept, design, and function to the primary product found in Amazon search. However, there are minor differences in the dimensions. Can this product be considered the same as the primary product? If the supplier's product is slightly smaller, is there a reason to sell it at a lower price, the rest being equal to the primary product, or can I maintain the same price as the primary product? If the difference in size has absolutely zero effect on what the product does, then no, I mean, yes or no, you can sell it at the same price. If it being smaller means it doesn't deliver the same exact, oh my God, I just lost the word. But if it doesn't provide the same outcome for the customer who gets it, then not only can you not, you'd have to charge less, it's not the same as the primary product. Small variations in size are fine if it doesn't affect the purpose. That's the word I was looking for. The purpose of the product. If the purpose doesn't change, then it's all good. There's absolutely no problem at all. If it does, then you need to look at it and decide, is it close enough to the primary product to be considered a competing product? In module 5, it's indicated not to use product quantity in the product title, but in Richard, this is a fabulous question because you're absolutely right. Elham Shabazi, but I didn't make a mistake. I love this. Okay, in module 5, it's indicated not to use product quantity in the product title, but in Richard's example, it says set of 4 for the taco holder. Isn't that mentioned the quantity? If so, what exactly is acceptable? So no, it isn't. And I know that sounds crazy, but it isn't. So what they mean by quantity is number of units. So in other words, if I was selling a silicon spatula separate, I've got to think how to say this now, and there was 2 of them, then you get 2, that's different. We are selling it was a bad example to use on so many levels. Me and Dan discussed it later. It was like, why did we choose this product? But it's a pack of 4, it's 1 unit. So when it comes to putting quantity, it would be 1. If we put 1 in the title, then that would be the quantity. I hope that makes sense because it's a pack. It's not individual products. I think I'm right. Another one from Elham. In lesson 9 of module 5, Rich talks about the recommended price option and how to do that. Could you please explain using an example? Craigie. I can't exactly remember which lesson that was, the recommended price option. I don't know if this was me talking about how to determine your price or having the different price levels. What I need you to do, Elham, is go and post the question in the community and explain exactly what you mean. And in the meantime, when I see that question, I'll look it up and see exactly what funnily enough, I can't remember every single lesson and which one's which. And rather than stop now and look it up, I'm just seeing if anyone's, nope. So yeah, post in the community, tag me, feel free, I'm giving you permission, and I'll get you an answer for that one. George B, I'm sorry I cannot make this visible. Okay, so he's given me a screenshot of I'm assuming this is a competing product screenshot from the extension. But my question is, what do in this case where there are no BSRs or no monthly sales, no reviews, and he's talking about the top 4 of the products don't have those. Excuse me. With no data or drop the product entirely. Does this mean the products are registered with that? Excuse me. Does this mean products are registered with Amazon, but no inventory is not delivered yet? It could mean multiple different things. I can't quite see without. Yeah, I'd have to zoom in. I can't zoom in because it's a document. So in this situation, 9 times out of 10, you're going to just ignore those top 4. However, what you can do, because we're starting to see this a lot more now, is click on the product name, open up the listing, and see if it's got BSR in a top level category. If it hasn't, then that's why you're seeing it. For the most part, we just have to ignore these. And it is something Amazon are messing about with, and there's nothing we can do about it, and the tool can't find information that's not there. So as I say, 9 times out of 10, you will just ignore this. But if it gives you the data, but obviously not the monthly sales, etc., which is unlikely because if the BSR is there, then the extension will give you the number of sales. But looking at your example, I strongly suspect that these are just products which Amazon have chosen to put into a separate category that's not a top level category, something on those lines. So yes, ignore them for the most part. I love this one because I should have got this wrong. I should have got this right last week. At least I think it was me who got the name wrong. So this is from Bob Mannering, and it's spelt Mainwaring, but I should know this because I'm English. And Bob even points it out, which is hilarious. My name is pronounced Mannering, like Dad's Army. It's an old TV show. If you're American, you have no idea what it is. But it's an old TV show about during the war, and the lead character was Captain Mannering, but it was spelled Mannering. Anyway, his question. Module 1, I have found a product that meets the criteria, but there seems to be a lot of competition. How do you tell if a product is saturated with suppliers? I take you mean sellers, but if it matches all the criteria, then you should be good. Now, you know, the end of the day, what you should be doing is you've built your opportunity list, and when you narrow it down to 3, if this product looks like the reviews are much higher compared to the others, but the others are better in other areas, or even if they're the same in the other areas, then it is something to go away from. Generally speaking, though, the reason the criteria is there is it works. Sometimes, like if you look and the top 15 products all have 1,000+ reviews, then okay, then that might be slightly too competitive. But what you have to realize, even in that situation, if the second product's only got 200 reviews, then it got to position 2 with only 200 reviews, even if all the others have 1,000+. Okay, but make sure it follows the criteria. If it matches all the criteria, then it's viable. But when you come to narrow down to your best 3, bear that in mind. You know, you obviously have reasons to believe that this one is more competitive. Bear that in mind when you are choosing those last 3. And if it makes it through to go into module 2, when you get your samples and everything, when you choose the best product, again, bear that in mind. Hope that helps. Max Malchef. Do I need to check with RAM or Rivera regarding my product import duties before contacting a sourcing agent offered as a bonus? Or will the sourcing agent help me with this and provide this info before going ahead with my product? They will, but you want to find out. I mean, it's not that hard to find out the import duties for a product. The only difficulty comes with identifying your product. And I know that sounds crazy, but it isn't. But you should be looking, I wouldn't wait. If you've already contacted suppliers, ask them, especially if you've asked. I think I answered the same question maybe last week or the week before. But when you go through that process, you've contacted 10 or more suppliers, okay? And then you narrow it down to the best 3 or whatever. But that's that one question. Ask it of all 10 suppliers. Say, do you know what the import tariff is on this product? And also ask them, Tracy, remind me, what's it called? It's not called the product. What is it called? What it's product type? But has it got a specific name? HTS code. See how it just happens. You just ask Tracy and there it is. So it's a HTS code. What I'll probably do over the next few days, I'll get a thread together so you know. But basically just ask the supplier if they know what the tariff is and what the HTS code is, because you need both, just to make sure they're giving you the right thing. No, I get this one. Elham, in lesson 11 of module 5, I love how these questions come with actual specific lessons, and I should know them. Next week, I'm going to have the course outline up here. We're told not to send more than 3 emails. Is that per month? So definitely not more than 3 in the first month. And to be quite honest, after that, the way Dan is teaching how to build your audience and everything, you're better off contacting them that way, like through Facebook or through ManyChat or whatever it is. Amazon are becoming more particular. They just claim they've made a big change, but what they'd actually done, which is a big change, I guess, is they'd actually explained exactly what you are and are not allowed to do. Now, sending more than 3 emails is not something they say you can't do, but we really only use the email system for one thing. Well, actually 2 things. One is to get a review, the other is to get seller feedback. You can only ever ask for a review once. And that's a strict rule. They finally actually just put it in black and white on the site. And I think I showed it in the training. You cannot ask for a review more than once. And also asking seller feedback. those are the two things we really use those emails for, along with just building a bit of rapport with the customer. After that, you're not allowed to send any marketing materials. So what other email would you want to send? The only difference with that is if a customer contacts you about an issue or a problem or whatever. So I hope that answers your question. And I believe Mike's just joined us, so I think we'll get Mike to answer the remaining 15 questions, if that's all right with him. I'm just waiting for Skype to actually go berserk. Nope, he's not falling for it. Wow, this is a long one. Siavash J91. I check MBS Retriever, nope, still hasn't mentioned it, regularly to ensure my #1 product has the same stats as the first day I discovered it. Aha. This goes back to the whole Black Friday thing. Last night I saw that the stats for the same top competitors have dropped tremendously. Do you know why this might be? So I think there is a possibility, I might have explained it, and you actually go on to actually give yourself the answer, I think. Is it because of Black Friday, Cyber Monday sale, or could it just be a bug in the system? Look at the sales history, look at the BSR history, look at the price history. At the end of the day, my guess is that this product, if everything's dropped, is because it's a product that is going to sell well on Black Friday, because people know, at the end of the day, like American shoppers now are so savvy when it comes to all these things. They understand how everything works. So they see a product, might be obviously not one that we'll be selling, but like a widescreen TV. Then maybe they need one. And I think, well, I can wait 2 weeks and get it like 20%, 30%, 40% off. So it may just be that they know that this is going to be a Black Friday deal, so they back off and don't buy it. So that's what could cause it. That's a guess. But if you go and look, look at the BSR history and the price history and the sales history, if you've got a steady line all the time, even if it fluctuates up and down a little bit, but generally stays around the same numbers and then falls off a cliff just before Black Friday, that's what's happening. George B, what is the minimum monthly sales amount we need to target and shouldn't go below in searching for the first product? So I kind of covered this in my little speech thing at the beginning. So there's no specific amount of sales that we tell you should or shouldn't go for, because, and it leads into what I was talking about before, but because you could have a product which has, I don't know, maybe it's $100 that has a 50% profit margin. And so you need a lot less sales of that than you would of a product that's got, even if it was 50% profit margin, but only makes you $2 profit. So we don't put a limit on sales. And again, it goes back to the criteria. The criteria, if you follow the criteria, your product matches the criteria, there will be enough sales. Sales, revenue, both of those things, and to a certain extent reviews, we use those to narrow down our list to our best 3, rather than as a way of choosing a product from the get-go. So I hope that helps. Jacka Dilar, when you are, for example, in sports category and you go diving on 30th, 40th page and then use MBS, why are these products there? Why are there products that are not in the sports category also on these pages? Who does this Amazon algorithm work and why? We don't know. So you're always going to get that. You don't even have to go down 40 pages deep. At the end of the day, the way they do things isn't perfect. They also will have, they have cleaned this up a lot. Like people were listing products in incorrect categories because it gave them an edge, and stuff like that, which they've managed to crack down on quite a lot. But you're going to find crossover. You're going to find I'm trying to think of some examples, Patio Lawn and Garden, or whatever it's called now. Nope, can't remember. It's got a slightly different name now. Then, it's going to have crossover with DIY tools. It's going to have possibly crossover with, kitchen and dining, even home and kitchen. So it doesn't matter how far down you go, you're always going to see products from different categories. It's just the way it is. And Amazon's search algorithm is not perfect, and nobody knows how it works. And I'm including Amazon in that because I'm pretty sure they don't know how it works either. But it's nothing to worry about, nothing to concern yourself about. Just always remember you're using the BSR range for the category that the product's in, not the product you're searching in. John Blott. Before joining ASM, I created a plan for a brand with 5+ products. That's cool. I have 2,500 units of the first product in my possession. Wow, cool. And that's before ASM. And my next product sourced and ready to order. My products don't perfectly fit into the ASM criteria and were picked to complement each other as a brand. All good so far, apart from the criteria thing. Should I start over, stick into the ASM plan and liquidate my units, or stick with my brand and use the ASM strategies moving forward? Absolutely do not liquidate that product. At the end of the day, just because it doesn't match the ASM criteria doesn't mean it doesn't work. But it's like the criteria is there to help you find that first product. If you've already sourced that product, you've already got that product, especially 2,500 units of it, then put it on Amazon now. And then use the launch methods, which started. So use module 4 and module 6. Well, actually, I have module 5 for listing optimization. Let's not forget about that. Definitely get it up there. You've already got it. Like, it makes no sense whatsoever to just give up on it because it doesn't match all the criteria. It still might be a winner. So put it up there. And at the very least, you will get more money back than you will liquidating it. So launch it, use all the strategies in ASM to create your listing, to launch the product, all that kind of stuff. And let me know how it goes, because I'd be fascinated to know. But awesome job on, like, even though you didn't wait till you got ASM, you did it all before ASM. That's fabulous, you know, that you've actually ordered your product. That's cool. ShibSM, how important is it to find suppliers that are both verified and have trade assurance? What if I find a supplier that seems like a better fit, price, etc.? Should I definitely still avoid them because they like the above? No, you don't have to avoid them. Take a look at how long they've been trading. On Alibaba, it will tell you. I'm sure I showed it in the training, maybe not. But anyway, on the right-hand side, when you look at it, it tells you how long they've been on Alibaba. If they've been on there more than a year, then that helps. Excuse me. Obviously, trade assurance is a good thing too. However, you've gone this far. If you know that you get back, excuse me, if you get the information back from a supplier that doesn't have those things, but like you get it back from others that do, and it all makes sense, and they, you know, it becomes your #1 product out of the 3 you've taken into module 2, use the amazing sourcing bonus. Use that, you know, get them to go and look for you, because while they won't have trade assurance because their factories aren't on Alibaba, their factories are very high quality and they know what they're looking for. They know what to get. So that's what I would do. Zuramai, looks like I'm lagging way behind. No, you're not. No one is ever lagging behind, especially with Sell Essentials still suspended. James will get you sorted. And if he needs it, I'll help him too, but we'll get you sorted. How long are the mentors going to be around actively responding to questions? As long as you are. That's the best answer I can give. We're not going anywhere. The training doesn't go anywhere. The mentors aren't going anywhere. Steve vowed to me the other day that he's quite happy to be doing this till he's 100. Sitting in a rocking chair, because that's all he's ever wanted to do. That might be a stretch, but we'll always, you know, like moving forward, we're not going anywhere. You are never, ever lagging behind. You do this at your own pace. Tracy just said, oh my God, it seems like it. But listen, we're not going anywhere. We are desperate for you to succeed. You will succeed. Do it at your own pace. We will be here when you're ready for us. In the meantime, any questions come up, ask them. But don't feel left behind. You're not left behind. Okay? You're just doing it at your own pace. Just keep moving forward. We're not going anywhere. The training's not going anywhere. So keep moving forward. And fingers crossed. You don't need to cross your fingers. We're good. Shibastem again. I may have to start my product selection from the start again. Happens. It's the same, right? So this is the Black Friday question. I'm just going to skip over it. If you do have to start your product selection again, that's fine. It happens a lot. Like, don't think that you're always going to get it right first time. You know, like I did say it in the training, you're not always going to find your product first shot. But it's the same question about Black Friday. Should I wait? Take a break and wait till at least 4 or 5 days after Black Friday, and things will start to settle down. What is the disadvantage of searching subcategories for a primary product? This is from Diane Girard. So strictly speaking, there aren't any. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, the only downside is that if you just use subcategories, you might, I don't know why I said it like that. If you just use subcategories, then you might be missing products. You know, like, so I'm trying to think of a good example. I'm really rubbish at remembering examples. So say it's kitchen and dining and it's utensils, and you go through utensils, you might miss a product that's not in that subcategory. That's an awesome product. So for me, I would always use the parent category, the top level category. If you want to speed things up, that's fine. And there's another thing as well, because like go through the main category, the top level category, and then, you know, when you've done that search, then use the subcategory, because that will also bring up products that you won't find just by going to the end of the top level category, if that makes sense. But strictly speaking, like, stick with the top level. Unless you've got another thing is, if you've got a real specific passion for a specific thing, like kitchen utensils, yeah, it was a pretty rubbish example, then by all means do that, but don't give up on the top level category as well. So do both. It's, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Competing product 3, and this is another Black Friday question, I think. Competing product 3 have dropped their prices from 25 to 22 to 20 to 19 in November, probably for Black Friday. I based my profit margin on 25, and it was about 30%. With these new prices, the profit margin is below 20%. What would be the right decision now? Check the price history. If the price history was constant at that 25 mark, and they've just dropped it to Black Friday to maximize their sales, then, you know, again, take a break, see what happens. And after Black Friday is all over, go back and check again. And also, yeah, check the price history. It's a difficult time of year to a certain extent, but don't panic is what the main thing. Like, if that was a product you're really interested in, then take your time, take a break, enjoy Thanksgiving if you're in America. If you're not, just enjoy the weekend, I guess. And I can't believe we got Black Friday is actually quite a big thing in the UK now. I did not know that. It's been a long time since I've been back here this time of year. But yeah, take a break and keep moving forward. So that was the last question. Dan, do you have anything else you want to mention or say or answer before I close out?
No, all good, really. Just for those that are caught up on product selection and sort of getting that analysis paralysis around Black Friday, just keep going. I mean, Rich says it enough, maybe hearing it from me sort of will reinforce that. If it's your 5th attempt at product research or your 10th, that is the one action you take to find that successful product and scale to 6 figures a month on Amazon, then you have to ask yourself, is it worth it? And the answer is always, of course it is. So just keep going and keep pushing through it.
Absolutely. And once again, Dan, thank you so much for making the effort, dude. Your voice, it actually sounds worse now than it did like half an hour ago.
Yeah, I go through waves of man flu.
Yeah, taking the drugs. Did you get throat coat?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. See, Rich looks after me, guys. He sends me medicine in the post.
Yeah, especially because if he doesn't, I have to do the training. It's all good. Okay, so yeah, thank you, Dan. And then I've got a few more thank yous. First of all, I'm going to thank Caleb, who's in the background this week. We're back to our normal guy, which is why there was no glitches, and it was all perfect. So thank you, Caleb. And then obviously our amazing mentors, Tracy, the goddess of all wisdom. Thank you for being here. Joanne, the empress of all knowledge. Thank you for being here. And Steve. So next week we call what?
You pulled that off a lot better than I did last week.
You know what's, yeah, the thing is, that's like, I don't have Mike to do that to anymore. So it's kind of ruined. So sorry, Steve. Steve, the Swedish chef. There you go. That'll make him happy. And don't ask. Don't ask why he's a Swedish chef. But thank you, guys. Thank you to all you wonderful members for being on this call, asking such amazing questions and pointing out when I was wrong. I can take it. I can take it. But anyway, next week, we haven't completely finalized it. The call will probably be back to its normal time on a Thursday, but I will let you all know by Friday. We might have to move it to Wednesday, 12 o'clock again. In the meantime, if you're an existing seller on here, like coming to see what we're talking about, an older ASM member, have an awesome Black Friday. And to all the mentors too. Oh, by the way, mentors, when I said just take a break, that didn't apply to you. But yeah, so For those of you who are still like getting there, just keep moving forward, keep taking baby steps, keep moving forward. You will get there. We're all here for you. You might see the responses are a little bit slower on Friday because all these wonderful mentors are going to be keeping an eye on their own businesses because obviously it's the biggest, well, yeah, I reckon it's probably the biggest sale day of the year, that and Prime. I would actually, depending on your product type, it's probably one of the, probably the biggest day of the year. And there was one more thing. Oh, I know some of you have messaged me that I asked to message me and I haven't got back. My phone is now kicking off. I didn't get to them today. I will get to them tomorrow. And especially, and I've totally forgotten a name. I'm going to shoot myself. But anyway, you asked me a question that I messaged you and asked you to ask me by a private message. I will get to tomorrow morning and answer your question. I couldn't answer it on the call. So that's it. I waffled on for far too long. Thank you guys, everyone, for being here, and we'll see you next week.
Cheers, guys. Bye.